Hello everyone, my name is Mauro Hernandez. I'm back with another video. And so this video is going to outline a demonstration of how someone might have an online course using Burlington English's web courses. I find a lot of benefit to the web courses only because everything is kind of there for us. We have the lesson, it's in a scope, it's in a sequence, and even though maybe that sequence is a little bit off because obviously it's kind of towards the end of the year, I'm sure you can find adjust that to fit your needs, right? And the other benefit, or one of the other benefits, is that we have all the lesson plans associated with those lessons already done for us, and we can kind of just submit those, and they have the AEL competencies and benchmarks that aligned with all the different courses that are available. And so I find that to be another great benefit, kind of another thing off my back, because it's kind of a strange time. So anyway, so we're going to click on courses, and we have the Burlington English Core. We now have the EL Civics, which we should have access to by now. And then we have the careers and soft skills. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on one of the core classes. My students are about low, intermediate to high. So I'm going to click on that section. And the in-class lesson that we're going to focus on today is about used to, right? So using past simple with the with used to. So this is like a kind of a grammar section. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, one thing that I didn't like about Burlington English, the web-based courses at the beginning, was like I had to use these scroll buttons and stuff, so not all the information was on the screen at the same time, but I figured out a little hack or tip. So what I do is I go here, because I'm using Chrome, and I'm pretty sure you can do this on other web browsers as well, and I adjust the zoom. So I actually shrink it down to about 80%, and then that allows all the information to be on the page at the same time, so I don't have to be like scrolling and such. That's usually enough. I haven't encountered anything where I need to either scroll out to be bigger or smaller. Now, some of the text, usually the text that they have to read is pretty visible. Some of the other text might be a little bit smaller, and so you can just use your disability settings, your accessibility settings, and kind of change that to make the text a little bit larger so that it's a little bit easier to read the directions. But again, it's not a huge deal. I make it a little bit bigger, but that's kind of teach their own, right? And so here we already, this is the second page, so you'll probably just click on the first page, and then you have there the lesson. So in this lesson, you're going to review the simple past and learn about used to. I might read the sentences for them. This is also a great time where you can ask for volunteers if they know how to use the raise hand thing on Zoom. They can raise their hand, you can unmute them, and then have a volunteer read it. If not, I mean, if you just have an open mic so that anyone can jump in at any time, then you can just ask them to read it there, and they can. And I will be kind of demonstrating how that looks towards the end of the video. But you kind of click through, and you have the dialogues. You have questions about those dialogues. You have, again, more questions. So see, this is another one where the scroll bar is there, but most of it is already there. So this is the rule, right? Positive, I moved to the United States in 2007, so that's simple past. You have it in negative, and then you have the questions and stuff. And so that was a simple past, right? You have a irregular verb review, and then the rule to how to use used to, right? So it kind of reviews rules from that you've learned in past lessons, and then gives you the new rule, or the rule that you'll be learning in this one, and then you also get to practice it. Again, this is where I might read the first one for them. Shopping in the United States isn't always easy. For new immigrants, Lucas, and I might tell them, okay, it asks us to use simple past. So we just have to add ed, right? Moved is a regular verb, so we just add ed, and I'll go ahead and type that in. So Lucas moved to the US from Brazil 3 years ago. And then I might have them go for the next one. Like I said, just ask for a volunteer, and then they'll read it and answer the question. So for instance, if they say he still remembers the first time he goaded or something, then you could be like, oh, well, let's talk about that, right? Go, is that a regular verb or an irregular verb? And they might be like, oh yeah, it's an irregular verb. Like, okay, so then what's the conjugation for it? A went. Okay, there you go. So he still remembers the first time he went to the supermarket. And you're just basically they're reading, following along. I always encourage them to have a notebook to the side so they can be taking notes. I also might, we have some straight up question and answers, right? So they can even work in pairs. So there might be some like straight up question and answer. So I might tell them, okay, well, I'm going to take about 2 minutes. We'll do the first one together. So this we're using used to, right? So Miguel used to work at a doctor's office. Today he works at a hospital. Right, so I'll say, okay, go ahead and do 2 and 8 on your own. I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I kind of just drink some coffee. I might put a timer on the telephone, or I might just use the clock that's on there on the bottom of the screen, and then just give them about, like I said, 2 to 3 minutes for them to write down. I encourage them to write down the whole sentences just so they can get some writing practice as well. You can, if you want to, make sure that they're, I don't particularly do this, but if you want to, you can have them take pictures and send them in with their answer choices to make sure they're writing and practicing if you want that. If not, I mean, it's just practice for them. Also, they have the access to these lessons, not this specific lesson, but I'll show you how that looks like in a while. So I'll give them some time and they answer, and then we'll go over it, review it. Again, same thing, right? Now this one has pictures. We go over it. You can ask them for sentences using ride a bike, play with dolls, fight with my brother and sisters. Again, it's an opportunity for them to sort of participate, and then we can correct the words in the sentence, and and that's just one lesson. So that might actually take me, about 45 minutes to an hour. Because like I said, I really do encourage audience participation. I do a long time. When it comes to the presentations, I give a lot of examples, more examples than are listed here. I kind of gives different situations for why you would use to over past tense. I might say something like, it gives the connotation, it gives the understanding that they did it for over a long period of time. It wasn't just like a one-time thing. I played basketball makes it sound like it might have only been one time, whereas if you say I used to play basketball, then it sounds like you did it maybe in high school or college as a kind of like an extended period of time thing. So I tell them, that, can you guys think of any other reasons like where you might want to say you did something for a longer time? And so that's when you would use used to. And I will say that I do use a lot of Spanish. The majority, if not all, my students are Spanish speakers, so I do kind of use a lot of Spanish. But of course, you're welcome to. This is the benefit, right? You can mold your classroom and do what you want to do and best serve your students and their needs. Okay. So at this point in time, that's kind of. Oh wait, no, actually. We're going to see what it looks like from the student's point of view. So, right, that was the in-class lesson. So again, that's in green. If you go to the blue lesson, right, so you can then encourage them, right, after they're done with your lesson, be like, okay, well then your homework or what you should do now is go to personal information, right, lesson 4, review the simple past used to. And then they have the same thing, right? So this is the lesson that you gave, but notice they have a little bit more practice, right? So the beginning sections are the same, But if you want to, you can be like, okay, now you go and complete it on the web page. And then you can check to see if they completed it. As you can see, this text is different, right? So it won't be the exact same things that you reviewed in your in-class lesson. There'll be other activities that they'll have to be responsible for. And so you can be like, half of the class time is dedicated to them um, doing the in-class lesson, and then obviously they're also responsible for taking care of the lesson themselves. For them to do the lesson should only maybe take about 15-20 minutes, since they're basically just immediately using the rule that they learned, and so you can just use that. And like I said, you can make sure that they're completing those lessons, right? So they used to have 3 hours. You can explain to them that they used to have 3 hours, right, in a day, or 3.5 hours, depending. And so you're going to teach for about an hour, but then they're also responsible for about another 30 minutes to an hour where they're kind of doing their lessons on their own. And you can kind of monitor that just to make sure that they're doing it. So now I will kind of have a little in-class lesson demonstration, and we'll cut to that with the magic of editing, and you can kind of maybe see how I might go about having or hosting a class or teaching a class. And then again, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and I'll make sure to do my best to answer them. Or I encourage you, I super encourage you, because I know people think I might be a little egotistical making all these videos all the time, to demonstrate how you might have your classrooms and such, so that we can all kind of get an idea of what people are doing, maybe get ideas from other people, and sort of start forming an idea of how this gets done, and what a virtual class might look like, and what might be the best approaches for a virtual class. Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate all that you guys do, and I know some of you guys have helped me, and so I'm really glad to make these videos and help with them. All right, so on to the class. Oh, this all gets edited out anyways, right?